I see a familiar name. Hi, Sandy.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Veronica Newton, and I'm from Compass. I'm really happy to be hosting this webinar tonight. It's Financial Fluency in Changing Times with Yvany Peery and Meridith Bisiker. Yvany is a clinical social worker in the Washington, D.C. area, and Meridith is the owner of Pacific Rock Accounting, and she's a certified money coach. So today our webinar will last between 45 minutes to an hour, and we have an interactive question and answer section at the end. So as you're listening, if questions come up that you'd like to give to our panelists, just pop those in the Q&A box and I'll monitor those and we'll make sure to get those answered. I'd like to introduce Yvany and Meridith. Yvany is a clinical social worker specializing in traumatic stress and anxiety disorders. She's worked extensively with asylum seekers, refugees, and at-risk populations. And she currently has a private practice in the Washington, D.C. metro area and is a clinician and supervisor at an outpatient mental health clinic there in D.C. Meridith Bisiker is the owner of Pacific Rock Accounting. She is a career accounting nerd, and she's a certified money coach. And she helps creative entrepreneurs streamline their businesses and personal finances, which helps their profits and, of course, brings in their cash flow. And she knows that money can be a tough topic for creatives, so she created a unique approach that provides a safe space to be able to ask questions, actually have honest conversations about money, which that's not the easiest thing. And she can help guide her clients through growth opportunities. Meridith is located on beautiful Vancouver Island in British Columbia in Canada. And usually I do regular local events with experts here in New York City. But in this time when we're not able to do that, I thought, I'm not limited by geography. And I know so many amazing people all across the globe and especially throughout North America. So that's how I got the idea to host this webinar. I was personally reevaluating my finances, kind of hunkering down, looking at my spending, my budget, encountering some emotional turmoil and things like that. And that's also what gave me this idea. So I thought, let's share this with my friends, my clients, my colleagues, and anyone who might need it. And I think we will be sharing some really valuable info today. So, Yvany, hello.
Hello.
Hello. Let's begin with you.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, yeah, as we moved into lockdown, I mean, it started getting rough in February. I actually was traveling to Seattle, which that was a hot spot. End of February, early March. And the headlines, as I would get the newspaper every day, it was like, wow.
Whoa. Yeah.
And then we came back to New York and were locked down. So since then, all of these months, it's been a real up and down for me. I've had really days where, to be honest, I was really feeling anxious. I had one major meltdown day that was just like, no, stress, you know, but then other days I would get my head together, center, do all of my things like meditate, exercise, eat right, all of that. And I'd have a more zen day, but it was just this up and down. So I've heard this I'm not alone in this. My friends have told me they've been going through this. So what have you seen in your practice lately during these beginning months of 2020?
Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me. This is a wonderful opportunity. What I've seen mostly in my practice, the population that I work with are ongoing anxiety disorders as well as people who have experienced traumatic stress. And so what I thought I'd say is that I'll compare what happens when I see clients that already have traumatic stress, and then maybe we can kind of marry that together and go, oh, okay, well, maybe that's absolutely reasonable what's happening. So when you have traumatic stress, yes, your days do, or your weeks or your months often do tend to fluctuate. So it's the fluctuation, I think, that really makes people even more anxious. So people get anxious about being anxious, right? It's like that, today's good, but am I gonna crawl up in the mall tomorrow? And so what I say is, you might, and you know, you might, but that's not a crime. What we have to remember is that we will crawl up in a ball, but then we will get out of the ball. And then we'll kind of stretch, and then we might crawl up in a ball again. So let me put it this way. Wonderful yoga class that I took from one of my really, really good friends. And I was kind of creaking myself back into yoga. And she's doing all these things, and she's got the head here and the this there. And I said, okay, no. And she looked into the camera because we were doing Zoom, and she said, I want you to know that balance is a verb. Balance is actually a verb, and which includes the concept of falling. So all of a sudden, everything became easier for me. So I expected to kind of dip, right? And then stick my leg out again, and then dip again. So in other words, I was really moved by that, because she was imparting that we're always kind of like in emotion. There's never this static moment that just goes on until infinity, where we're just balanced, okay, going about our business. If we look at our
not
lives,
a yoga picture where
it's not.
Like, it's more, even with a master, it's like that.
Even with the master, it is a matter of when to put your foot down and catch yourself, and when to put it in, when to try again. So in that way, so I just want to let people know that, thank you, by the way, Vanessa Scanza is an amazing dancer and yoga teacher in Seattle. Thank you, Vanessa, for reminding me in my body that I'm supposed to be falling in order to balance myself. The issue is that oftentimes is that people have thoughts. People have beliefs.
They do?
They have beliefs.
Do I?
I think you might, Veronica. I hate to tell you, you might have
a couple. I might have
a couple of beliefs. Right.
And they might be feeling bad about feeling bad.
And you might be feeling bad about feeling bad. So, and that's one of the beliefs that is actually very, very, it's very cultural Western belief, is that we shouldn't feel bad. We should always feel good. We're not doing well if we're not feeling good. No, I say no. Of course, this is not the case. We are doing well when we're not feeling well, and then we are not able to not feel well ever, 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 ever again. And I personally have never seen that happen. I think it might defy the laws of physics, in fact. So even when people are on their way out of this world and out of their bodies through death, there is this kind of up and down movement until we pass away. And we see it going up. We expect things to go in a straight line. They never do. When people are ill and they are dying, they go up and then they go down. This is the nature of things. So of all things, this is what we do. And we'll forget that quite often.
Right, like when we have a brilliant day, like a really, really special day, And then often the next day is like a fairly let down. And somehow that catches me by surprise almost every time. But
yeah,
a
interesting.
pattern we can roll with and maybe be a little more accepting of.
Absolutely. And I really like the what you said. It's like it catches me every time. You know, I've been through bad days and good days and bad days and good days all my life. But every time we have the bad day, it's like it's never happened before. And in a way, that's the way our brains are built. They're built that way in order for us to be biased towards, so the brain, a human brain, is biased toward negativity or what could happen. And this is why we're here right now, is
like
because
a safety awareness.
It's a safety awareness. So we have a tendency that when we sit here, you know, like your grandmother said, like idle hands make for the devil's work. You're just sitting there doing nothing. Something's going to get messed up. Probably it's going to get messed up. It's going to get destroyed. It's going to not, right? So we have to think that sometimes when we're just kind of idling, when the brain is idling, it's expending energy, but it's idling often toward problem solving. And oftentimes problem solving kind of makes, if I'm solving a problem, then people have the belief that I have a problem. And then they start to believe that I am the problem. And those are obviously very, very different things, right? So just be aware that when the brain is idling, like a car sitting in front of Starbucks, not going anywhere, but expanding, belching out all of this gas and everything, the brain is looking for something wrong. It's just looking for something to fix.
Now, what about when there is something wrong, like a global pandemic that, you know, is dangerous and we have to take care? We could be sick or very sick or make someone sick. And then there's economic danger.
That's right.
Just due to us all being locked down and the fallout.
That's right.
If participants if you have anything you want to share that you've been feeling emotionally, you can put that in the Q&A as well and the chat. But yeah, what do you think? Because this is not just idling and coast is clear moment.
Yeah, very good. Not coast is clear moment. So this is a lot of people are consistently in, of course, a fight or flight state. So just real quick, I'll just let you know that we have a couple of parts of our brain. Fight and flight comes from one part of that brain. That's the limbic region that gets all that stuff going. Then the frontal lobes are the part of the brain that can problem solve and be objective. It's like, oh yeah, okay, that's a garden hose. It's not a snake. All right, obviously. Okay, so let's move on, right? Okay, so that objectivity. But when we're in fight, flight mode all the time, what we're doing is we are activating our limbic region, overly activating our limbic region. And that just means, like, the limbic region is where we attach, where we remember, where we love, when our sadness, and it's also the limbic region has our memory, where our memories are stored and they're replayed over and over and over again. Okay, if we are constantly stuck in that part of the brain, then we're going to continue to overly use that part of the brain. So it's like wearing a groove in your favorite seat, right? So I sit in that seat all the time, so the groove gets bigger, and then the pathway gets, it's just easier to think that way.
That track is worn.
Absolutely, that track is worn. So if we know where we are at any given time, right? When you're in your limbic region, you cannot tell time. You cannot do a crossword puzzle. Right? That's not what that does, right? I have never, ever, ever seen a horse tell time, ever, 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 right? Oh, it's 5 after, right? No, can't do it. So when we're in that, we know we're in that. We're not in problem solving mode, and we're not in future mode. So we're in a lot of fight flight right now. Our bodies are very stimulated. They're very, we might have heightened responses to things that we think are coming. Now, there's an opposite, or there's a lack of fight flight, and we never talk about that. We call it rest and digest. So resting and digesting is kind of like, not when we were running from the woolly mammoth who was chasing us and everything. Oh my God, I forgot my favorite rock. Leave your rock, run. No, we don't need the rock. You don't need that rock. But wait, I left the lights on. No. Run. Okay? When that happens, we can't digest. Or everything starts to shut itself down. Now, when we're in rest and digest mode, that's when the digestion, everything starts happening again. And then we get into frontal lobes and we start planning for the future. It's when everybody sat around the fire and went, wow, that was one heck of a woolly mammoth, wasn't it? Sure was. Wow, isn't this good meat? You know, next time when we get chased by a woolly mammoth, I'm gonna go in the front. You come around the back and then you go like this. Yeah, that's what we can do, right? So think of it as I'm back and I'm planning and I'm in the future and I'm in an objective moment. Okay.
Great.
So I'm just.
Yeah, because we've kind of had a mixed bag of that during this lockdown time, because there's an outer
Absolutely.
threat. But honestly, I'm fine. I'm in my house. I'm totally safe right now. I have food, and I have everything I'm grateful for.
Right. Absolutely. And that again, go into this little evolutionary mismatch, is that we just don't know how to pull it back. We don't have the same type of brains of a cat or a dog that can fall off the side of a chair and right themselves and go, and keep moving on.
Right.
We don't have that. And the reason that we don't is because we have big frontal lobes. So that's what I'll say about that. But we are in a heightened state often. And that also means that we have a lot of chemical, hormonal changes that are happening in our body as well. Right? And we have to be careful of that. A little bit of fat around the middle. It's not just sitting, it's also stress. It's also cortisol.
So one of the participants, Pamela, thank you. She said along these lines to how our human brain is predisposed to finding out what's wrong or looking for the negative concerns. What if instead we recast we're on lockdown to we're in secure mode?
That is so beautiful. Thank you, Pamela. We're in secure mode. Okay. Right. So again, remember what I said. When I say to I like to ride horses, so I use a lot of horse stuff. The horse sees the garden hose. The horse rears up. I get off the horse. I go pick it up and go, this is a garden hose, horsey. Garden hose. And then I put the garden hose down and then the horse keeps walking, right? I love the idea that we can use this time to reset that. How do we do that? I think that's what you're asking. How do we use this time to regain safety, the feeling of safety? And what I say to everyone is that safety starts in the body. So when we are in our house and we're feeling a little anxious or we feel like we're getting up, and what we tend to do is we tend to try to talk ourselves out of feeling anxious. Well, what are you worried about? Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Just calm down. Okay, don't do that. I'm just gonna you don't need to do that. Okay, your body already knows that. You know that. Okay, so what I say is drop on the floor and give me 20. Okay, just do some push-ups. push something, okay?
Yeah.
The feeling of pushing actually is neurotransmitter resetting.
Hmm.
Look around. Yes, it actually is. Pushing, if you push against a wall, for some reason, it turns down anxiety. Really, if you lift something really heavy, it also turns down anxiety, okay? So our safety comes from, again, wow, look at the here and now. I'm in my house. I'm in my kitchen. There's food there. I can call my friend. This is my floor. I think I'll lay on it for a while. This is this. I think I'm okay. Here and now. Practice being right here, right now. This is a nice table. I think I'll put my arm on it. That's nice. I mean, in the right here and the right now. I'm safe, right? Calling on the frontal lobes here. Calling on the frontal lobes. Quick safety. Do a crossword puzzle. Huh? What?
Yeah.
Do a crossword puzzle. This is why. You cannot do a crossword puzzle in your limbic region. It won't work. You will be writing all kinds of weird little things upside down and everything and doodling around and then going, pretty, I don't know, right? That's your older mammalian brain. When you're doing a crossword puzzle, you need to pull those frontal lobes in. The crossword puzzle, just problem solving something that's very neutral, can put you back in the frontal lobes, okay? Second thing, and then that you can do, is you can schedule, take out your calendar and schedule freaking out.
Really?
Really.
Put it on the calendar.
Put it on the calendar. Take the calendar out, and you can't just go, yeah, maybe I'll do it Tuesday. I mean, you have to pick that calendar up, and you need to look for a good time. And you're going to block off about 2 hours, 2 full hours. And what you're going to do is you're just block this out, and you're going to say, freak out. Because I'm going to have a freak out, right? And then you're going to think, do I need 2 hours for the freak out, or maybe I need 45 minutes? No, wait. No, okay, I'll take an hour and 15. Oh, yeah, I'll get that in, and then after that, I'll do that. Why do you think that works?
Yeah, I think because it's allowing yourself. So again, I would usually hold myself back and not allow myself a meltdown, a freak out, a bashing, a punching pillows, push-ups. You know, I might not give myself that.
You might not give yourself that. That's a great reason why that you might want to freak out. Okay, here's the real reason. 9.99999 times out of 10, when a client comes back to me and I say, how was your week, whatever. And then I go back and I say, how was the freak out? And they're like, what? And I go, the freak out. We planned on doing, we brought the book, we did the whole thing. We were going to look on the calendar while you're going on. Yeah, I saw that. And I went shopping. Why? Because it's organized. Calendars are planning. The frontal lobe loves calendars. It loves crossword puzzles. It loves math problems. It loves Rubik's cubes. And again, while that frontal lobe is working, the limbic region is taking a back seat and hanging out. So when people get to that calendar, oh, this is the day I'm supposed to freak out, they go, meh. And then they just never happens.
Right.
They don't do it. Stay in this mode. Stay in this mode. And you are problem solving in the neocortex as opposed to in the back. And we're not stimulating the limbic region. We're not stimulating what's called the amygdala, these little alarm systems that go off.
Right. So it is okay because you have planned, and then You've coped. It's a coping mechanism.
It's a coping mechanism. It's a coping mechanism. And you said you've coped, you can plan it. I have control of what happens in the future, and I can make choices. I can decide to do that or not, or, you know what, I think I'm going to watch Netflix. And every time the client comes back, and it's hysterical, and I wait, I'm like, okay, what did she say she's going to do? Okay, so I just went for a walk. Or I went to the mall. Or, you know, I called my daughter. It was great. We had a really great conversation. They skip over it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is okay. They're doing it, but hear that, everybody? Get that on your calendar.
Get that on your freak out on your calendar. See if you can do it.
2 hours. I love it.
2 hours, and you can't stop.
I love it.
You got to use the whole 2 hours.
Great. Thank you. If any participants, if you have any questions or thoughts to share with everyone, feel free to put it in the chat or put questions in the Q&A. And I do have a poll. If you guys want to answer this question, feel free. A couple of questions there about your personal finances. And Meridith, are you there? Are you there? Hello.
I am still here, and that was wonderful. Thank you, Yvany.
Okay.
Really enthralled. We need
Thanks so much.
We need that reminder about those different parts of our brain that are at play, so that we can remind ourselves that this isn't our fault. There's other things at play that we don't even realize.
Exactly. And our brain may be completely on our side and working to help us. Mm-hmm. So you're in the trenches with your clients' money, and that is very intimate. As an accountant and a money coach, you're very familiar with your clients' personal financial situations. Mm-hmm. So in times of major uncertainty and crisis like this, how can people plan? Do you have any recommendations for planning?
Yeah, they can only plan with the information they have right now, if that makes sense. So what I see sometimes is people go into that, as Yvany was referring to, that fight mode, more or less, I think, of that's it. I'm going to turn my whole business around. I'm going to do something different, or I'm going to set this massive goal and I'm going to be okay. And they're being very reactive rather than sitting back and assessing the entire situation. So everybody, it's tough to answer that question specifically, because everybody's their planning is going to be a little bit different from person to person, especially depending on their situation. So in the case of my clients, who are mostly in Canada, there's various programs that have been delivered through the government, and we can do planning around that, but it's going to be different, again, from client to client, depending on how their business is set up. I think as well, it comes back down to that realistic goal, but sometimes just waiting a little bit to see what happens, rather than, oh my gosh, this is happening right now, I have to do something right now. Even he alluded to this, or actually talked about it directly. We always feel like we need to do something. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we need to go into that rest and digest and just give it a few days. Recognize that we have some time. Maybe we have a month just to see what's happening, especially right now, because things are changing every single month. You know, in the context of COVID, it's actually really hard to plan. That's the conversation I'm having with my business clients, is we actually don't know what's going to happen in the fall. So one of my clients is a nonprofit. We had 4 scenarios for the board to look at, and that's the reality. And it's sometimes exhausting, but it's what we have to deal with.
Yeah, and that's the information you have. And I see that a lot in real estate. There are some people saying they have the expertise and saying they know the answer. Guess what? They probably don't. They probably don't have quite enough information in many cases. And
Yeah.
so in that scenario, it's better to wait and gather the info.
Yeah,
Then
and
make
if we
decisions.
can, as we're moving ahead, come up with some solutions that will help us mitigate the risk as well, or have some options. Plan A doesn't work, this is what we're going to do over here, if possible. I think it's also important to recognize that not everybody has the options. Some people are really in dire straits, and it's really difficult to plan anything when you don't have any money. So at that point, it's time to see who you can reach out to for help.
Right, right. And that's really very, very crucial. And it has been over the past few months. And I know people's situations will continue to change. So having that reach out for help, don't remain isolated, bridge out to your support system
Mm-hmm.
will be very important if people run into that where their options are narrowing.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, or ask people who you can go to for help, because in every province or every state, there's different programs, and sometimes you just don't know what's out there and may be surprised in a good way.
Exactly. Share information. So in relation to the emotional aspect and money, do you have any tips to share?
I think we need to remember that any decisions we make when it comes to money normally are affected in some way by our emotions, even if we don't like to admit it. Certainly we've got, the neocortex to come in and make some of those more objective decisions, like I'm going to take these apples instead of these apples because it's cheaper. But even then there's something playing in the background, like why do I want to go with cheaper, etc. So when it comes to managing our emotions when it comes to money, first of all, everything that Yvany said. If you're feeling very overwhelmed, I have a little script that I'll share that I used when I was coming out of my own financial crisis, which occurred I was coming out of it about 8 years ago. And when I discovered that my emotions were at play, I started talking to myself a lot. I never liked talking to myself because then I'd have to admit things, and I hated admitting things. But at this point, I was there. I knew that we had gone through this crisis, that we had made some not very good decisions, that a lot of those decisions were, influenced by our emotions and our stress, especially. We were not thinking up here at all. So this quick little script is, every time I felt like I was feeling worried about money, and I didn't need to be worried about it anymore. Our bills were being paid. We had money going back into savings. We were paying our debt down. Every time I felt stressed, for me, it's a knot in my stomach, and I knew that it was money, I would say, what are you worried about? Well, I'm worried about money again. Do you need to be worried about money? No, right now, in this very moment, I do not need to worry about money. I have a plan, and everything is going to go according to plan. And if it doesn't, well, then I'll find out later. Right now, I don't need to worry. And I started going through that script faster and faster for a number of months. And pretty soon, it just stopped. I stopped. So it was even you referred to those pathways, being like those
The
ruts.
neural pathways.
Yeah, to me it's like ruts. Like you go skiing, and the more you go skiing or sledding, you've got this rut that you can slide down. It takes a lot of work and literally a lot of energy for us to move out of those emotions. So remember that it's not easy to fix. You're going to have to work at it, but to pull out of it, just have a script, talk to people, journal, etc. I think that's the best way to go about it.
And you also said you tapped into your body as an awareness of, so you were already in worry. It sounds like you were already deep in that pool of worry, but you felt that nausea And you recognized that, and that brought you some awareness.
Yeah, I knew I was feeling a way that I didn't need to feel anymore. You know, what was happening out here wasn't matching what was happening in here. And I was tired of feeling that way, is what it came down to. So I was willing to do the work to get out of that.
That's great. And then your script became a little less laborious, and you could fly through it as you talk to yourself.
Yes, exactly. I like talking to myself now. I quite enjoy my own company these days, which is a good thing.
That's very good. That's great. Beautiful. Cool. So with your clients, are there any approaches you're taking in this moment in time or in your sessions with them now?
Yeah, of course. You know, I have a handout, which I'm going to share, actually. I think this would be a good time to do that. With coaching, a lot of people don't understand what life coaching is. They think it might be therapy. It's not therapy. It's completely different. And I know that I know when I'm treading into that area, and I will start talking to clients about perhaps
go see Yvany.
That's right. Now I have someone else I'll refer to. If someone is going back to the past, if it appears that there's being something traumatic around money or anything else, I will refer them to that or to a therapist, because it's very, very helpful. As a coach, I am helping clients set short-term goals with, you know, a longer range goal in sight. But when I meet them, usually on a weekly basis, they're setting a short-term goal. And then we're digging into, you know, what might help them reach those goals and what might get in their way. And they're open-ended questions, and they might seem very simple in the beginning. But as a coach, as a life coach, what I do and what any other professional life coach will do is they're going to offer a safe space, whether it's over Zoom or in person, where they ask a question and allow their clients to just think about it. They don't have to answer right away. So I'm going to share a few questions that I'm asking a lot of my clients right now. They seem to be very relevant. We're also going to share this handout later. So if you're watching, don't worry about writing down these questions. We're going to share them with you. What I recommend is let the answers stew. Sure, you'll have your gut answer, but there's probably more to it. And you may want to talk your answers out with somebody. You may want to journal. Journaling is very, very powerful. I don't journal all the time, but when I'm stuck, I get my pen and paper and I write, because I can usually just go until I finally get down to that answer that I'm looking for, which I don't know right away. Which is another important point about coaching, is I'm not here to tell any of my clients what to do. I don't know what the right answer is for them when they make their choices. When they make their choices, or when they commit to moving forward and ask me to hold them accountable, I want to make sure that I know what their values are, because they won't feel motivated to move forward if this is butting up against their values. And I'll be there to offer tools and resources. On the accounting side, certainly I'm there to help people say, okay, watch out, because you're going to end up in trouble if you don't make the right choice, right? But with coaching, especially when it comes to making spending plans or having the conversations that we need to have with people about money, there are certain ways that are going to be more motivating. So without further ado, I'm going to share these 6 questions. Again, we'll share the handout in a little bit. But let's go here. Okay, so let's say that you want to set a financial goal by August 31st. Put another date in there if you want. I'm just using that as an example. So what financial goal would you like to achieve? A lot of people will say, well, I want to save money. I want to pay down some debt. You might want to find another job that's going to pay you more, but also you might want to learn more about money. And you might want to, for example, a lot of people want to learn about investing right now because there seems to be everyone's saying there's a lot more opportunities out there. So it might not be that solid number related goal. Maybe you want to have better conversations about money. So what's that goal that you want to choose? What are you willing to do in order to achieve this goal? And this is where we might start feeling some discomfort because our brains don't like change and they'll do a lot to avoid it. So dig into that. What are you willing to do? And you might not know right away when you look at that question what you're willing to do. You might have to go through the next 4 questions to find out what you actually need to do and what you're willing to do. Next question is, what are you willing to stop doing? So for me, as an example, when I first had my first solid spending plan years ago, I even had a green ledger book that I used because I was like, I am going to master this. I think it was a little I was inflicting a little bit of pain by having to do it by hand. So I needed to make sure I was successful this time. So I was willing to stop going out during my breaks and buying drinks. By drinks, I mean like coffees. And
expensive lattes and the
exactly.
indulgent.
That's right. Because that would save me, gosh, $35 a week, right? With just me doing that. It didn't seem like much, but there were other little things too. It was really uncomfortable because I liked the excuse to get out of the office. I frankly really enjoyed the sugar, and because I was so stressed out at the time, I enjoyed those drinks. So not only was I uncomfortable because I wasn't having a sugar rush, but I was uncomfortable because I was having to change a habit. So even that little thing, remember, if it feels uncomfortable to you, it is uncomfortable. So how can you support yourself through that? Which leads me to the next question. What do you need in order to achieve this goal? We were chatting a little bit about that, Veronica. Who do you need to reach out to for a bit of support? Is there a professional who you need to reach out to? Do you need to talk to an accountant? Do you need to speak to someone at your bank? Do you not like the person at your bank? So do you need to get a referral to someone else? What do you need? Do you need tools? Do you need more money to achieve that goal? I'm giving these different examples not to guide you or to lead anybody, but just to show that you get to answer this question how it feels right for you. For those who are feeling apprehension, I've asked this question twice with 2 clients today. If you weren't scared, what would you do right now to achieve this goal? That's a huge one. For one of my clients, it was, well, I'd start cold calling right now. I mean, cold calling, that's scary.
Definitely.
Don't believe I had to refrain from any emotion on that one, but
that was their goal that they wanted to achieve.
Yeah, that's right. So we had a good conversation around that. These questions lead to more questions and to more conversation. That's where the journaling or speaking with someone else is really helpful. And then the last question, what step will you take this week to move you closer to your goal? I was just writing to someone right before this webinar. Remember that it's really hard to achieve our goals in one fell swoop. And as human beings, at least in our culture here in North America, and I think in many parts of the world, we see other people achieving big goals and we think that they did it like that, like in a week or a month or a year. And it takes a lot of time to achieve these bigger goals, especially if it's saving, like building an emergency fund, or if it's paying down debt or making more money in our business. So break it down into little steps. Write down what those little steps are going to be so that you can track your success as you go along and you don't forget what you have accomplished. And remember too, just like Yvany said, be prepared to fall. It's going to happen. And we're going to have to course correct, especially this year.
Right.
Just expect that. So those are my, those are 6 powerful questions to start with, and you'll be really surprised to see where that takes you. And pay attention to your body, pay attention to what's those thoughts in your mind that are telling you that you can't achieve the goal or that you can't move forward with it. Really pay attention to that and just get curious. Don't get mad at yourself, just get really curious and figure out, you know, another way to work around that or just address them.
So that flexibility in the planning, that balance is a verb, as
Yeah,
Yvany said. Yes, I love that too,
awesome.
because I really didn't think of it that way. You need that in any financial plan, which would be any time, but particularly now, when almost every week and every month new developments happen, new curveballs happen, and situations seem to be changing for just about everybody.
Yeah, and it's going to be different for everybody. So don't compare yourself to what's happening with other people, because you're just going to cause yourself more grief. It's just not fair. And then, of course, you know, there's a lot of other things that are at play that are ramping up everybody's emotions too. So one thing I will never ever say is that anybody can do this. Anybody can achieve these financial goals, because not everybody has the same resources as other people, but you can make those little steps that are right for you to achieve the goals that work for you this year, at least.
Thank you. I'm going to find this and use these. I find it very useful.
Good.
And I know, just to be very honest, I've been looking at my own spending plan. And even if you want to jump on and we can discuss a minute, but you know, she was joking around that she's not doing the portion of the talk that Meridith's doing, you know, not handling that piece. But earlier today, I looked at my spending plan and I just moved, so some of my expenses changed. And it had big empty gaps because I hadn't filled in my new expenses now that I moved. So that was an honest moment of, oh, oops, you know, I need to address this, and I just need to be aware that I need to know these numbers and get this information, and not be blind to it. Open my eyes here.
No, I have a friend, her name is Elizabeth Sinclair, and she talks about money a lot, and she's a multimillionaire, and she says she still watches every single cent she spent. She's always aware of that. And that's why she's where she is.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. It's a key. And all of my clients are the same way. That's how they're able to live the lives they can, afford the homes that they can.
And it comes down to 5 minutes a day. Once you've got your plan, 5 minutes a day at the most, just tracking it. Or maybe, for me, it's every Sunday. I just log in, make sure. Actually, I check my bank accounts every day, because one of my best tips is I started taking my spending money and locking it in one account. So I have my bill payment account, and many of you might have heard this strategy before. I have my bill payment account that pays my bills. I make sure there's enough in there. Then I move my spending money over to a spending money account. And that's how much I have to spend, or we as a family have to spend, for an allotted amount of time. And it sure keeps us reined in. My husband does not like going and spending money and not having his debit card work, so he pays attention too.
Yeah, so it's the calendar again, isn't it?
Yes.
Yep.
Planning mode, organizing, calendar, routine. I do this every day. I do this every Sunday.
Right.
We did have a question come in, and this can be for both of you, from Elizabeth. Hey, Liz. Hi, my darling.
Hi, Liz.
My job is stable, so my financial situation is okay, but my emotional state has had me indulging in too much add to cart therapy. Any suggestions for how to curb the shopping impulse? And hey, love you guys.
So,
Thank you,
did you want to go ahead, Meredith, or should I start?
Well, I'll use a funny little story just to introduce that, and then I think
Mhm.
you'll have some really good tidbits to add, Yvany. This is my daughter, my 15-year-old daughter, who loves working, loves making money, and I know she spent on Amazon because she uses our account, which has my Visa, and then I get an e-transfer. And when COVID hit, she did start spending more money. And it was a bit of a struggle for her. She said, Mom, I don't know what to do. And I said, well, it really, really sucks, but you're going to have to work through this and establish a new habit. And it's going to, your body's not going to like it, your brain's not going to like it. And you'll have to find, when you get that urge, first of all, the golden rule, give yourself 24 hours to think about it. Second of all, just like you said, Yvany, do something else to distract you from it. And then later on in 24 hours, if you feel like it's something you absolutely have to have, great. But also you need to create a spending plan and some goals, because you're going to see how you're thwarting your own goals by spending money on Amazon.
Yeah.
So it's helped a bit. She's still working on it, but she's only 15, so I got time.
Well,
but it popped right up there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So this is one of the greatest questions of our time. Adds to cart. Why am I still adding to cart? And I'm going to tell you just basically why. Okay, so Meredith has done this fantastic job of talking about our thoughts and our body, and that's absolutely right. The reason is because when we add to cart, we get a shot of dopamine.
Yes.
That's simple. It's the same thing that when somebody likes one of our posts or our picture, ooh, right? Ooh. The more we do this, ooh, the more the dopamine pathway is going to open, right? So again, it's just a matter of understanding why your brain wants to do what it's doing. It wants to do it because, first of all, it might be idling again. It might be like, right? Just in front of the Starbucks and idling, and wants to look in the glove compartment, see what's over there, wants to do something. Because every time we step out of ourselves to do a task, and we are good at that task, or we're successful at that task, no matter how big or small that it is, we get a dopamine shot. So it's very interesting that a lot of people, when we can't stop urges, in my business, we use often the go-to antidepressant is bupropion. And bupropion has been marketed, it's so interested in like 1,000 different ways but which is the same drug. And basically what the drug does, it's marketed for you to stop smoking. Basically what it does is it shuts off it agonizes those dopamine receptors. So when you're doing that same thing, you're not getting the same zzz from it, right? It just kind of stops. So here's the thing about dopamine. Exactly what Meridith says, and exactly why it is said, wait 5 minutes, just wait, right? So if you wait, you're going to give that moment for that dopamine seeking to just calm itself down. Just calm itself down. Just calm itself down. And then you're going to come back and you're going to go, not seeking dopamine. You're going to go, really, who needs another shirt with a cat on it? Really? Because I have 20, So what you're really doing, so understand what it is that you're doing, right? And why it feels so good. I'm seeking something, right? And it's good. It's okay to seek. Okay. It's okay to seek, but what? So we're just going to take a minute and we're going to take some super deep breaths, get up, walk away, do a little dance. Now I'm being absolutely serious. Do a little dance. Why? We're gonna just start some other neurotransmitters from work. So do a little dance. It's gonna give you might boost your serotonin a little bit, you know, and that's the idea of well-being. Well, now I'm okay. I did a little dance. Now I'm okay. Let's go back and close that page that has my card in it. I have literally put 27 things in one cart in one evening and then just close the page. And it's done. It's over. It's very difficult under stress not to want dopamine.
Right. So the 1 minute dance break, the
Right.
5 minute walk, the 24-hour break, which that often really helps me. Liz is saying, I knew the answer would be exercise. I don't know.
Dang, why?
Yeah, that's just a little dance. That's just...
The answer, Liz, unfortunately, 9.9 times out of 10 is exercise. It is moving your body in some way is basically how we calm it down.
Yeah, so you have both touched in on ways to tap into your body, listen to it, get cues, to bring some awareness to something that may have been habitual, kind of subconscious or unaware. So we are reaching close to an hour here. Thank you everyone for participating. Thank you so much for the wonderful questions and what you shared. And thank you so much to Yvany and to Meridith for taking the time to be with us today and share your experience and your knowledge.
My pleasure.
Very much appreciate it. So my quick take, and what I wanted to share fast, I'm old enough to have lived through some other crisis periods in my life. So when I was in college, the stock market crash called Black Monday happened. I was living downtown in Manhattan during 9/11. I did live here in New York through the 2008 financial meltdown and that aftermath. What we're experiencing now is very, very different. But my thought is, you know, we have this idea that right now the news is bad and negative, but I remember it being that way back when I was a young person and through my whole life. It actually, the news reporting does not seek solutions. It's not solution driven. And both Yvany and Meridith have said that's the space we need to cultivate, and that's where we need to be. So my meditation teacher actually said, watch or read the news 4 minutes per day only. And I have to admit, I go past that and I limit it. But something happens of an awareness as I'm doom scrolling into minute 5. I'm like, oh, I'm past 4 minutes. Oops. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to share that and to keep our humor, keep a grain of salt, seek out the solutions. There are some outlets like Yes Magazine and other reporting, or friends and resources that you have in your life that are geared towards solution and support. I know people are facing really challenging situations right now. I wanted to share 2 resources related to what we've been discussing today. This is a book called Bouncing Forward, and it's about how sometimes when a traumatic instance happens, some people come out stronger, some people come out better, and there's new science about this. And so this book reports on that science, and it's so well written. It's by Michaela Haas, PhD. So it's entertaining. This could be tough, it could be dry, but terrific. I think this could solve the world's ills. I really can't recommend it enough. It's fantastic. Then on the personal finance side, I like this book, which has a funny title, I Will Teach You to Be Rich, by Sethi. And he is funny throughout. He's making jokes. He's keeping it light. Because, right, Meridith, it could be a boring topic, not the most interesting.
Gosh.
Yeah. So
pick up the fun books about money, please. Don't get the boring stuff.
His thing is not materialism, but a rich life. And what are your goals and how do you achieve that? And that's your life. So I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Sethi. And it's based like a workshop, and it covers your entire financial life, every aspect. So those two I highly recommend. And to keep in touch with us all, Meridith is going to share her contact info, and I am happy to share Yvany's info on how you can get in touch with her. So
I can just quickly share.
Yeah, why don't
I'll bring the visual up here. And if you just want to write down my email address, watch the spelling of my first name. As I said to Veronica, it's like, thanks, Mom. Appreciate that one. Meridith at pacificrockaccounting.com. Email is the best. You can find me on Facebook and message me there as well, Meridith Bisiker. And even though I'm in Canada, I do work with many Americans as well. So don't let that stop you. In fact, I have many, many American friends, and I miss all of them right now.
Fantastic. That's great. I have a real Canada connection. So good to know you can work with Americans. Let's see if I can share my screen. I'll just share that one. You guys can see that. Can you see it? Can you see my screen? Okay.
I can, yes.
So yeah, I've got all these chat things, chat boxes that I was monitoring in front. But here is Yvany's information, and she does have a private practice, MindWise, and it's completely virtual. So she's able to accept out-of-network clients in Maryland and DC, right? And that's all, right? That's where the license covers?
Yes, for the licensing, correct. I'm covered. It depends on where you are. Because of the pandemic, a lot of things about access to psychotherapy is changing very rapidly. So all of that might change.
Okay.
Yeah, it very well could change. Yes. Yeah,
so amazing. So yeah. I'll share this. Did you share your information in the chat?
Oh yeah, I can go ahead and,
yeah. Why don't you do that? And Meridith, you shared your whole handout.
Yeah, that's right. And I'll just write my email in case anybody wants to copy and paste that. Beautiful. And please feel free to reach out if you have any, what Yvany just touched on was very brief today, and same for me. So if you have any other questions about the questions I shared, please just feel free to reach out. I am absolutely open to that.
Absolutely. Same. Please email with anything, even if it doesn't have to do with money, if it has to do with some anxiety, some things that you're just don't think that you're able to get past right now during this time, especially when we're under a lot of stress and pressure, like Meridith said, as she does refer people to psychotherapists as to, what is actually going on, what's the thought process that's happening, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So please, even if we can't meet, even if we cannot make a contract because of the laws and the rules, I would still be very, very happy to talk to you. So please reach out.
Beautiful. Thank you, Yvany. Thank you, Meredith. I think
Thank you.
you've provided so much great information that will help people overcome obstacles, feel they calmer now than maybe how they were feeling when this webinar started. So thank you both.
Welcome. Thank you,
Have a
Veronica.
great evening.
It was wonderful. You guys have a great evening too.
You too. Thank you, Veronica. It's great to see you, Meredith.
You too.
Thanks so
Take
much.
care, everyone.
Take
Bye.
care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.